What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Bianconeri Zone for another daily news show. And this time it's Renato Veiga wanting to play in Serie A, which could open a dream scenario for a lot of fans, if I can call it a dream, but a potential move at the end of the window because Chelsea want to get rid of Renato Veiga, but there are no suitors at this moment in time willing to pay the money. And we know how it goes. Chelsea gets the money for the players, but if it's towards the end of the window and they want to get rid of a player off the books, scenarios might open up, and maybe Vega's like, yeah, I want to return in Serie A because that's a report, and maybe he wants to pick us over any other club available at that moment in time. There's a Kiwior update when Kelly is being moved out. However, right now the club is refusing offers for Kelly, which is very odd, but that's what we're going to talk about. Miretti potentially blocked, and the Douglas Luiz thing is getting a bit strange, like the Vlahovic story. We are potentially willing to accept offers, players from Nottingham Forest, in this case, Sangare, the midfielder from Nottingham Forest. So before we get into it, as always, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, but especially hit the like button. And let's start with Renato Veiga. Okay, so Renato Veiga, a player that I'm going to say almost 40% of our fan base would take back in a heartbeat. You know, if the money is good, if it's a loan, whatever. I'm like, just the player, many would take him back for the simple reason he's better than many that we have. And some saw some potential in a player and they're like, you know what, we want to keep Renato Veiga. He's back to Chelsea. Giuntoli was close to signing him. Then Comoli came in, everything changed. He was close to Bayern Munich. He was close to Atletico Madrid. And at this moment in time, he's close to absolutely nobody. For some reason, nor Bayern Munich and Atletico Madrid, who were pushing for him, pulled the trigger. Is that because Chelsea are asking for too much money? Maybe. Is that because they have other targets that are more realistic? I don't know. Mirko Di Natale came out and he said, I have a news piece for you guys, or something interesting. He said he wants to come back to the Serie A because he likes to play in the Serie A. So I sat back and I was like, we need a defender. And who else in Serie A is in for him? Are the reports? Who needs a defender in Serie A more than us if we move out players? And obviously, if he wants to play back in Serie A, if he wants to come back in Serie A, and we are the option, he will pick us over any other club because, well, he knows us and he wants to play for us. He never wanted to actually leave. He wanted to stay, but we made that decision. So it's on. If we move out a player, it could potentially be on again. For a player, again, if no Atletico Madrid, if they're not offering the full fee, Bayern Munich are not offering the full fee, at the end of the window, you might figure something out with Chelsea. A loan with an option again, or an obligation, or a very cheap loan with a very cheap option. I don't know what, but the scenario is still open. However, someone needs to leave. And the news, funnily enough, is that there are offers for Kelly from the Premier League club. But according to reports, Juve are saying, no, we're not moving out Kelly because the money is not right. I'm going to break the news to the club. You're not going to get the money back you paid for Lloyd Kelly. Not now, not tomorrow, not 2 years from now, not 20 years from now, not 100 years from now. Not even if you go back in time, you're going to get that money for some reason, if that's possible. We overpaid for a very average footballer. That's it. It's as simple as that. So you make the decision to lose a little bit of money, or you're just going to keep him, never sell him, and he's going to cost you games because he's not good enough. It's it's either that or it's that. He's not going to improve. He is who he is. He's already close to 30. That's who he is. So you're going to take a loss on him, a hit on him, or you're just going to accept you're going to keep a very average player in your squad who's going to cost you games, who's going to have good moments, and is going to have very bad moments, you know? That's the decision the club needs to make. If there's an offer from the Premier League, you take it, you run with it. There's a Kiwior news as well that he's still an option. I think that's more a far-fetched thing because of the money Arsenal won, but I know a lot of fans do like Kiwior. But for now, I think that's more in the background as well, especially if nobody leaves. Other news, the Douglas Luiz thing. We're in a situation where we have no choice other than I want to say just accept whatever Nottingham Forest or any team are offering us, but Douglas Luiz wants out. Everybody knows Douglas Luiz wants out. We made it clear that we want to sell Douglas Luiz. He didn't show up in preseason, for some reason, even though we were willing to let him go. And now the offers, even though the club wants money, an obligation, the offers are loan with an option or loan that becomes an obligation. Those are the offers. And now the news reports are saying that Nottingham Forest are willing to offer players. In this case, Sangare from Nottingham Forest. He will be 28 at the end of the season. Defensive midfielder, central midfielder, whatever. A player I'm not a big fan of. He's not bang average or whatever, but he's also not a game changer. Like at that point, you just bring in Frank Kessie, because I know what Frank Kessie is going to give me. I don't really know what Sangare is going to give me because it's hot and it's cold. I've not watched tons of Nottingham Forest games, maybe a handful, probably because, not probably. They played Liverpool, they played Chelsea, they played Man U, and they played Arsenal. So about 4 games, I think. No, I watched Newcastle as well. And the games he played, I watched Newcastle away, not the full 90 minutes. The games I've seen, it's a handful. Not impressed. What I heard from Nottingham Forest fan, hot and cold. It's good, it's bad. When it's good, it's really good. When it's bad, it's really bad. Do we need him? No. Is he going to be a game changer? No. However, we're in a situation, again, where we need to get rid of a player we want to get rid of, and it's a problem, like the Vlahovic thing. Yes, we want the money, we want the fee, we want the obligation, but at which point is the club going to break? Towards the end of the window, because you need to move him out, he's not part of your plans anymore, and you still need to replace him, and you need to replace him with a player that you deem good enough, and a team you're going to buy him from also needs to accept that, because it's the end of the window and he needs to find a replacement for said player, So that is the situation. We can demand the money for all we want. But at the end of the day, we're not in full control. The more games are passing, the more hours are, passing, minutes, seconds, we become less and less in charge. And maybe you find a way to sell these players for the money you want. But then the problem pops up of, okay, who are we going to sign? Are we going to need to overpay? Are the opposition clubs going to sell? Mirko Natale said Julmond. A month ago, they were willing to lower their demands, maybe around 40 million. But now, no chance. Is that because we didn't give them Alberto Costa? Probably. But also because, it's the second week of August. It's the second week of August. They're not going to sell you their main midfielder being Sporting on a cheap, for them cheap, and then go out and replace them. That makes no sense. We wouldn't do that. Why would any club, why would the champion, 2-time champion of Portugal do that? Let's be honest. So that is the situation. Dangerous, but it is what it is. In the comments, let me know what you would do. Will you take Veiga back at the end of the window? How much will you pay for Veiga? That's 1. And 2, do you believe you will get the money for Douglas Luiz in the end? Clean. Even if it's a loan with an obligation, will we get, quote unquote, rid on a permanent from Douglas Luiz? Let me know in the comments, like the video, and I will speak to you guys later tonight. Ciao.